organization. Solution architecture as a skill and as a practice is fairly well defined. Solution architects generally are fairly senior resources with significant IT technology experience and also business experience. And those two skills allow solution architects to actually design solutions to business problems or business needs with the use of IT technology. So having said that, in the slides for today, we were going to talk a little bit about your design within the business context. So the value of this information is just to help or try and elaborate on where solution architecture sits within the design or the business thought process, and how the business integrates solution architecture into their daily operations. So if you look at slide number 4, your organizational context consists of solution architecture and solution design needs to operate wider organizational context. So solution architects do operate within the business realm, and they are advisors to the business on how to leverage technology. The issue, though, is for your solution architect role to be able to advise on those strategies, the solution architect needs to understand the business. And we have structures and processes in place. So quick question to you, who from IT is generally responsible for understanding the business or gathering information? Anybody? Who in IT collects information from the business? That's right, BAs. So BAs are a really important part of that, and solution architects work with BAs. But yes, fundamentally, BAs are the starting point of the engagement. They are the ones sent out into the business to figure out what's going on and to figure out what the business needs. And their contribution to that is a logical thought process and a good skills at documenting those details. And we document those details how? What we call those documented details. Anybody? That's system requirement to a degree, but what do business analysts do? What do they write?
Business analysts work as a translator between customer and the DevOps team, like developer team.
That's right. And what generally do business analysts write? What documents do they do?
They write like requirement gather, like they
exactly.
Collect data.
So business requirements. So BAs are responsible for business requirements. So in the greater context of a business, you will have factors that demand attention from the business, commonly referred to as external factors. That will result in an organization developing a strategy on how to deal with those external factors. So think about deploying a new product, a rule change, changes in taxes. All these things will require a business strategy or an organization strategy to deal with those things. And then once you have a business strategy, those strategies are then permeated through your business side of things on how they're going to adapt to it, or what do they need to be able to accommodate that. And then through IT, through the solution architects and the BAs, what happens is those organization strategies are then looked at and say, okay, so this is the strategy, how we are going to deal with this factor or this need or requirement or new product or technology change. And then they will figure out how to technologically deal with that. But fundamentally, your solution architects are the people who help define those things. Solution architecture is also part of your design function. So very often your solution architect is involved with the designing of the potential solutions, or at least making various design proposals available to the business. Their major input is the business and your business analysts. The third leg of that stool is your solution architect also needs to know what technology is available in the business. So case in point, if you are a Microsoft Windows shop, a company, recommending a solution of using Apple products is probably not going to work well at all because you do not have the infrastructure and experience to do that. So a solution architect needs to know where the company's technical strengths are and leverage those. So this is the picture on slide 6 that you need to be aware of. Okay. So solution architecture is the pink stuff. This is the parts that they deal with. Fundamentally, what you have is, if you look at step 1, you have your business need or your business strategy. Out of that, the business will say, this is what we need to accomplish, which ends up being your business objectives. The business structure and organizational model is developed by the business to meet those objectives. And at that point, once they have that strategy in place, that will dictate to IT what we can do to assist them. And that's where our role as solution architects steps in, because the business have objectives that they need to meet, and we need to now figure out how we are going to deliver that through technology. We understand the business processes, the BAs help us with that. We get our models figured out, and then essentially we define a solution, we get a solution approved. We support the implementation of that solution, and then that is rolled out to the business and involved. So at the end of the day, so the part you need to remember is solution architects help with taking the business objectives and turning them into requirements from the IT shop, and working with IT on how to meet those business objectives from a technology space. Because remember, a solution architect is not going to tell the business how to do business. They are, however, going to tell the business how they can do business with the technologies available today. So that's fundamentally what you need to understand is the role of a solution architect. They're not responsible for the business strategy. They're not responsible for the business objectives. However, they are responsible for how technology can support those objectives or dictate those objectives, and how IT can meet those business objectives. So it's all about that step 3. And that's why I say this picture is pretty important. Remember step 3. All right. So solution design delivery. So you guys have had a project management class already, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what were the fundamental steps in your project management?
Mm,
So initiation, what are the others?
Initiation, planning, and
Yep. Yeah, what are the others?
design,
Oh,
building.
it's that early in the morning, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have your initiation, your planning, your delivery, then your review, and then your closeout.
Mm,
Okay, so solution architecture pretty much follows a very similar life cycle. Solution architects very seldom work outside of projects. So there's a reason why solution architecture processes are quite closely aligned to your standard project management module. So if you know how project management runs, you know how solution architects operate. However, they deliver different things. So in solution architecture, your solution delivery phases are very similar. You have your concept, which is your business need, which same as a project. You have your initiation, which is the same as project management. You have your initiation. Same in project management is once you initiate the solution delivery process, you plan it, just like in project management. Once you've got it planned, you've complete the design with your plan, you build it with your plan, you test it with your plan, and you deploy it with your plan. And your plan is essentially the part that the project manager supports. And then, of course, out of that, the project manager then has your operationalization, which is ultimately the thing that the project manager manages is the solution delivery phase, which is your design, build, test, and deploy. Those are sub phases within your project management delivery. So if you're smart and you figure out that the two processes are very closely aligned, you will do well. So if you learn one, you learn them both. And yes, so Cheryl typed it in for us. Initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Those are the correct verbiage for that. Thank you, Cheryl. So the project management's execution is the solution deliveries, design, build, test, and deploy. So our design, build, test, and deploy are subsets of project management's execution. The planning for project management and the planning for your solution architecture are the same thing. Your initiation for project management and your initiation for solution architecture are the same thing. So hopefully you guys have figured it out. If you know the one, you know them both. So learn one of them. All right. So that's the important part today. So you guys should be on your version. So you should be on your version 3 of your initial project, right? So you have your final deliverable for project 1 today, which is your reason or benefits of solution architecture to a business. You need to continue to work on that today. The last part of your documentation is you need to identify these solution delivery phases as a comment in your proposal to the business. So you have your document that you've been working on. In week 1, you were designing your template and things. Last week, you were adding all the content. This week, you should add this slide number 10 to your document. Complete your document, and you need to submit it by the end of day today. All right, so I'm just going to quickly check. Yeah. So your assignment 1, and I'm going to share this now. Give me a second. So for the remainder of the class today, you need to remember that slide 11 and incorporate it into your solution architecture and design assignment 1. So in assignment 1, as a recap, you were doing an introduction to solution architecture to the business. The theory was, or the concept was that the business needs to do a project or migrate to Office 365. And you are going to tell them why they should use solution architecture to do that because of the benefits and so on. So your output was you need to provide a summary of the organization. That is standard practice for any document IT writes. They always put a summary in the beginning saying this is the company, this is the scope and all that, so that when people read the document, they agree with the same foundations that you're working off of. That you need to give a brief summary of the evolution of solution architecture, why it exists, what the capabilities are. That's what we've been talking about last week. And the phases of solution architecture is the part that you've just seen now. And if you've noticed, it's the same as project management. And I highly recommend that you do relate solution architect, so your solution architecture solution, to standard project management practices and say the benefits to the business are we're a well-established process, we're part of the project management process, and we have a similar life cycle to project management. And if you leverage the content from slide 11, please put the reference in your document if you're going to reuse that slide, okay? And then you need to explain to the business why solution architecture is important for the project and what the benefits are. So that's all I have today. You are free to continue working on your project and then submit it today as you need to be done by today. So any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Remember, you're putting your sales hat on for your assignment 1. You're selling the business on why you are benefit to the business, why solution architecture is important. And I do believe, I don't know that there's a quiz. Is there a quiz next week?
Yeah, we have quiz.
Based on the instructional plan, there's
Yes, so you're right. So there is a quiz, and that quiz is going to cover the solution architecture lifecycle and the content we covered last week.
And is it open book?
Yes, it's open book.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem, Cheryl. Okay, so any questions, ladies and gentlemen? I don't want to take away from your time to work on your assignment 1. I had mentioned, or it was mentioned in the beginning of the semester, that you can do all your assignments in class so that you don't have to have homework. So please feel free to get it completed and submitted as soon as possible.
Okay. I just submitted the assignment yesterday. So
Okay.
I want to submit it again by today, or it's fine.
Yeah, so you need to submit the final version or the last submission. 1 second, please. Give me a second. Sorry about that. The dog wanted to come inside. So if you've submitted the document, you're not done yet because you need to add slide 11's content.
Okay.
Sorry. Are you
Oh,
referring
sorry,
to
slide 10.
Okay. All right.
So sorry. Yes, Cheryl.
That is my question.
Yes, sorry,
10
my
for
bad.
the-
I forgot. It's actually slide 10.
Okay, we need to add that on the.
You need to
phases of-
talk about that. So an important benefit for solution architecture to business is that solution architecture isn't isn't a weird science. It's a well-established process that really works. And a big part of solution architecture is the fact that it is highly integrated into standard project management practices. And the reason it's integrated into project management practices is because project managers have figured out the optimal way to deliver services. And we don't reinvent the wheel. And we're a part of a project. So solution architects have adopted the same methodology. And that's what you need to tell the business. It's a big selling point to businesses because I'm sure you've noticed IT people are generally very hard to understand. Think about speaking to your parents when you try and tell what you do in IT. How often do they understand what you're talking about? Probably not very often, right? So the whole concept of this is think of the business as the same situation. Business uses IT, but business doesn't understand IT or technology. So a big part of technology's problem is relating to the business and telling the business why using technology is a good idea. Because from a business perspective, all they see is that IT people are very expensive. We get paid a lot of money, and technology costs a lot of money. So for them, IT is a pain. And they don't want to deal with it if they can avoid it because it is very expensive. And we need to tell them why those expenses are justified. Does that make sense? You were going to say something?
Question.
Yes.
Yes, Mohammed.
It's like, what is the difference between solution architecture and project management manager? Project.
So the solution architect is the technical expert. Project manager does not know anything about a solution. They're just making sure if they have 100 tasks on the plan that the 100 tasks are done. What those tasks are, that's what the solution architect helps define.
Okay.
So the difference between the project manager and the solution architect, the project manager just makes sure everything that needs to be done is done. And the people are paid and the meetings are done and the communications are done. And when things need to be delivered, they get delivered. That's what the project manager does. The project manager does not necessarily understand what those things are. That's where the solution architect comes into play.
Okay.
And that's why projects generally have multiple experts, and the project manager is responsible to make sure those experts do what they need to do when they need to do it. And solution architects are just one of those people. More often than not, though, the solution architect and the project manager are very closely tied to the hip because they work so closely together, because the solution architect needs the project manager to make sure everybody does their part, and the project manager needs to make sure the solution architect has thought through the solution. So the two of them are usually very tightly related. And in cheap companies, sometimes the solution architect is also the project manager, but that's not very common because generally that means the solution architect is also a trained project manager. And that makes those kinds of solution architects very, very expensive because essentially they are PMs and they are solution architects and they have multiple certifications. Those are not common solution architects. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to go on mute here. I will be around to answer any questions. Please make sure that you finish your assignment 1. Remember the template was, there is that template that you're supposed to be or should be using because it's easy to use in Econestoga. You need to submit it by the end of the day. And please incorporate the knowledge you gained today on slide 10 into your document, explaining to the business that solution architecture is a good idea for this project. And on top of that, we're aligned to the project management principles, which means we work well in standard project managers. All right. Good luck with your assignments. And if you have questions, let me know. And stay warm.